The Parallax door libraries come with 5 door schedules that are already prepared and filtered for your use. The primary door schedule, and the most important one, is called Architecture Door Schedule Core and Shell. If you were to open this door schedule, you would see that it's already filtered down to eliminate the nested families that will show up in the door schedule because they are modeled as door objects. This filter simply says, check to see if the parameter called panel 1 exists in the families, and if so, show these doors. Everything that does not have this parameter, those doors do not show. You'll also notice that the filter by default has a secondary criteria that says unit door does not equal yes. That's because if you're using the unit door library where you're scheduling doors by type, there is a different schedule that will list only one item of each type. It's an unitemized door schedule. Otherwise, it looks identical. That way, if you're working on a large format multifamily building and you want to have door type A or door type B, you can have a unit door schedule that will only list 10 doors instead of several hundreds. Most of the time, I use the typical core and shell door schedule. The door schedule itself will list door number, fire rating in minutes, which is a live updating instance parameter from the doors. So in this sample file, I've taken some doors and I have put them in some rated walls. I've then gone into each door and typed in 45 minutes in the shared parameter door fire rating minutes. That's now filling in the door schedule, as you can see here. Panel type 1 and panel type 2 are reading live from the door type. Obviously, only the double doors have panel type 2, but for the most part, most of the doors should have panel type 1. Similarly, you can have individual panel widths for panel type 1 and panel type 2, or you can also have an overall width, which is the total of the two panels. This is a firm decision, and so I'm sure your door schedule that's in your template may have been customized and it may look a bit different than this. The door thickness, the door undercut, and all of the material parameters that we looked at for the finishes are all included in the door schedule as well. You'll notice that there is not a set of parameters for door construction material, and that's because the frame selection is already covering whether or not it's an aluminum or a wood or a hollow metal door. This allows us to not have to use redundant text parameters that we fill in the 11th hour, which means better quality control of our process earlier on. Specifics about the frame, including the jamb width, the head height, and the frame depth, are all live in the schedule as well. So you may remember I changed a couple of doors to have 4-inch heads during the demonstration. You'll see that they are now listed here. This means that your drafted details that go along with your frame types, your jamb types, your sill details, they don't all have to be duplicated and edited for the different dimensions of the frames and the heads. You can just say, refer to door schedule for this dimension, and then you can just schedule them live right here. The parameters that are manual are the shared parameters that are just text fields for what door head detail, what jamb detail, and what hardware set would you like to reference. Those items you just fill in manually based on your firm standards. You will also notice that there are other schedules that are looking for just the door frames, just the panels, just the hardware. These particular schedules have filters in them that will appear very manual. They are looking for the mark value of the door to contain FRM. Now you'll notice I didn't say the family name, which we know starts with FRM. This is looking for the mark value contains FRM. Right now, none of the door frames have that. Now, this part of using these doors is not required. These schedules right here are simply a nice quality control check. So to start, let's review what happens with shared nested families when they are all the same category. In this demonstration, you may see here that this is a door, and I've manually numbered this door 102A because it corresponds to room 102. Well, keep in mind that this door is actually a combination of several shared nested doors. There are panels, frames, and hardware. If you were to tab select the panels themselves, you would see that they are also door families, and they have just random mark values that Revit has assigned based on your template, your project, and whatever else. That's true for each piece of hardware. That's true for the frame. That's true for the panels, and so on and so forth. But there is value, quality control-wise, in knowing which panels and which frames and which hardware is used on which door. So what we've done is we've built those door schedules such that this is door 102A. I would like the frame to be numbered 102A-FRM. That way I know which frame relates to door 102A. So included in your door library is a simple Dynamo graph called renumber subcomponents. Don't worry, you don't have to know anything about Dynamo to run this graph. You literally just go File, Open, and you open the graph called renumber subcomponents. Once it's open, you simply click Run. When it's completed, it may either say run completed or run completed with warnings. That's going to depend on a couple of things in your project. By the way, keep in mind that this graph will require you to download a couple of third-party packages before it will run. What it's done is it's now gone through and numbered all of your subcomponents: 102A frame, 102A hardware push panel 2, 102A hardware push. What's nice about this is you can now go back and, using your quality control schedules for frame review, you can say, here are the frames, not the actual doors themselves. So this is telling you that frame 22 is used in a 45-minute door. If you want to check against all of your fire-rated frames, you can do that. If you want to look at where is Panic hardware placed, you can go to your hardware schedule and you can get an itemized look of which door type, which door has each closer type, each kick panel type, each pull, and each push. If there was any Panic hardware used in this model, you would see it here immediately. So these are some quality control techniques that can be used. I particularly like it for the panel version because I can look at all of my rated doors, for instance, and see that that is a solid panel F. That's a full glazed door. I need to make sure that my specs for that full glazed door allow for this, and so on and so forth. There's my vision light panels, and on and on. So this is just a nice way that you can do some quality control by running that Dynamo graph. Aside from that, your standard door schedule should basically be filling itself out on an instance basis, and as long as you keep in mind what these two filters are, and as long as these two filters are present, everything will be fine. If somebody decides to edit the door schedule and take the filters off, you will find, of course, that now every piece of hardware, every panel, every frame, every door clearance, and every door swing will show up in the door schedule, making the door schedule astronomically long. For instance, all of those lines are really just door 101A. Don't worry, now that you know what the filter is, which again is also in your door PDF guide, if you simply go back in and say panel 1 exists and unit door does not equal yes, then you'll find that your door schedule completely goes back to normal instantaneously. That's basically everything that you need to know to get started with how to schedule these doors. There is a little bit more information inside the PDF guide.